It's Jonathan Gerber with the Jerusalem Portfolio. I'm going to introduce my friend Ziv Kalfon to talk about Allevetix and his business, which is really going to change the world. Again, another example of Israeli innovation where an interesting novel idea was generated, in this case out of Singapore. And because of Israeli innovation and design, the Israelis were able to take the Singaporean idea, bring it to market, go through testing, and ultimately going to change the world. It's an idea that's going to help obese people, people with type 2 diabetes, and really make a huge impact on the lives of many, many people. Allevetix is not included in our portfolio directly. There is a publicly traded Israeli company which does have a significant investment in Allevetix, but I really don't want to talk about the investment elements of this. I really just want to use today's program to talk about the ideas and the innovation and Ziv and who he is and what's coming out of Israel today. So I don't want to highlight the investment merits with this product at all. That's not the idea of the program. The idea of the program is really just to talk about Israeli ideas and innovation and design. With that, let's get started. You come from a healthy country. You walk around Israel, people are thin, people are athletic, everyone's ready for Miluim, their army reserves. By and large, compared to where I come from, it's a healthy society. So how do you come up with this idea to help solve obesity? And also, this is a tool that every obese person can use. How do you figure out this niche market of diabetes? Tell me a little bit about that.
I see. So first of all, we used to be a very healthy country. Right now, 3 years ago, they did a test for the kids at the third grade. I think it was like 8 years old. And actually, we were like the third or the first country in the world with overweight issues with kids. Between the third to the fourth in global. In the country they tested it. So we are not so good, and we are eating a lot of hamburgers and pizza. So yeah, we have here a lot of overweight and a lot of cases of diabetes type 2. So we're not so healthy. But how we started the idea, it's actually an interesting story. Some physicians from the University of Singapore had this idea, and they tried to build a device that will do what we are doing now. Unfortunately for them, but good luck for us, they had a lot of issues with the development. They weren't able to do the R&D and get a product. They contacted us, me, and asked us to help them. And we started as a binational project. We were funded by the Singapore and Israel government. And then we started the project while we are doing the design, and they giving us some kind of specification and stuff like that. In the end, we were able to do the design, not as was supposed to be in the beginning, but it was a great design. And we have right now all the ownership of the idea, and we are giving them around 2.5 royalties because they have the first idea. So we had an agreement, we are paying them some royalties, and we have full commercialization rights for the product. So this is how the first idea came. I'm like 20 years in the medical device industry. I worked in a lot of companies, small ones, big ones. I worked with a company named MediGuide, which St. Jude bought for, $300 million. I later then worked for a company named Versamed. We did a lot of ventilation, which is actually now is a big issue due to the corona. And I did a lot of R&D regarding stents and stuff like that. And right now I'm doing, in the last 4 years, the implant to treat diabetes type 2 and obesity.
Fantastic. And so it's just an amazing story. So some Singapore researchers through university there came across obstacles they couldn't overcome. And instead, they don't reach out to the US or to the UK or to Europe. No, they called the tiny little country in Israel. You can hardly find it on a map to find a partner to help market this. It's an amazing thing. Amazing thing. Tell me, so basically your device, as I've done a little bit of research, you insert it down the esophagus. It's a fairly non-invasive procedure, and it puts a device in the stomach to help reduce appetite. Is that the basic primary modality?
No, no. I mean, yes and no. I mean, we do going through the mouth. It's, for instance, as you said, we have a very small delivery system, which is like it's a gastroscopic procedure. Like if you have some issues with the GI tract, the physician take an endoscopic machine, which is a long tube with a camera, and put it in your mouth and check everything of that. So we use the same procedure, the same endoscopic. We have a delivery system that going with that. And then you just deploy a Teflon sleeve, which goes through the duodenal area, and it's covered. So it's covering it in a way that the food's going through the sleeve, and then nothing get in contact with the duodenal tissue. So everything that you eat, all the sugar, all the fat, it just don't get absorbed. I mean,
Wow.
It's like you're eating, but your body doesn't get it. So the idea is coming from the gastric bypass surgery. You know, people which are obese or are highly overweight and have diabetics right now, they don't have don't have any kind of solution for diabetics type 2. Insulin, metformin, all this stuff is just to give you a chance to go your day-to-day routine. But you don't get cured. You still have diabetics. What they're calling it, managing diabetics type 2, not treating diabetics type 2, all right? Because they cannot give you some medication and then following 1 week, 1 month, 2 years, you'll be cured. No, you'll still be diabetics type 2, and you probably have a bigger and bigger dose of insulin and stuff like that. And they're like just giving you the chance to go through your day routine. So, but the bypass surgery, gastric bypass surgery, is actually curing the patients from diabetics type 2, or at least following the procedure, within a few months, they don't need to take medication anymore. So even though if they're not actually cured because they have this grain of diabetics in the system, they don't need medication, and they usually lose a lot of weight, and they're like considered non-diabetic patient anymore. So the idea of the bypass is that the food doesn't go through the duodenal. So we're doing the same thing as the bypass surgery, just without the surgery, which has a lot of comorbidities. You know, they have a lot of issues. I don't want to get into that, but it's a very complicated procedure, which have a lot of impacts on your lifestyle. So taking the good idea of the procedure that food does not go through the duodenal, we cover the duodenal from the inside with a very, very flexible sleeve, and then the food's going in like in a tunnel, and the body does not, the duodenal area doesn't absorb it. And now what's happening to the body is like we called it a restart. We're giving the body a restart. Once it's going through this restart process, we can get the device out, and you don't need medication, everything. I mean, if you go back and eat a lot and don't do exercise, you probably get sick again, and then you need another device. So if you take this great step toward being healthier person, it will give you some motivation to start, walking twice a week, eating healthier, because you lose a lot of weight. We did a clinical study with humans, of course, and they lost in average 13%, 13% of their body weight within 3 months, which is a lot. They, in 3 months, already cut 50% of their medication in 3 months. So think about what will happen in half a year. So that's the process. We're taking this leave and giving the body a chance to do what we call a restart. And then following half a year or 1 year, we can take the device out. The patient lost a lot of weight. Its diabetic parameters are very good, and he have another chance at getting his life back. So that's the idea.
It's amazing. Oh, wow. Wow, it's amazing. Tell me, where is it in the development? You've obviously done trials in humans. Is it commercially available? Could I get this today? Where is it
No.
available?
No, I mean, because it's an implant and it's, in United States, for example, there is like two regulatory paths for medical devices that you probably heard, 510K, PMA. We are in the PMA. It's a novel product. We don't have, something similar in the market. So we needing to go through the PMA track. So what we are doing now, we are doing a lot more studies in Europe.
Sorry, tell for our listeners' benefit, the PMA is something new and innovative rather than similar to something on the market. So your due diligence and studies is far more extensive.
Exactly. I mean, it's harder to get regulation when you are PMA, but again, it's giving you a head start on everybody else. So you have a lot of what we call a window of opportunities where you are alone in the market. And it's harder to get the regulation approval, but once you get it, you have a lot of time to just try to get as much market as you can and put yourself as the number one because you are number one. Yeah, so right now we are doing, we are working on our second study at Europe of 50 patients. And once we have this clinical evidence from the study, we already talked with the FDA. So they asked us for more clinical evidence for them to lower a little bit of the safety margins that they asked for us. So it's easier for us to do a small study of 50 patients, and with those results, go to FDA and then we can get a better study from our perspective, meaning less patients and less time for the device inside and a much shorter study if we start in the FDA as the first place we're going to do the study.
So when will this be commercially available?
Between 3 to 5 years.
Oh, that's a long time.
It's a long time. Yeah, it's an implant. Yeah, it's not something that you just put on your body like, accessories, stuff like that. It's an implant.
Will it be available around the world more or less at the same time? Will it all be available in 3 to 5 years, or will there be some countries or regions which can accelerate that pace?
Some of the countries will be available within 3 years, and some, as the US, only 5 years. Okay, so this is the span.
Who else is developing this kind of device, or are you unique in the world of removable implants like this?
There is a company named GI Dynamics. They had a similar product, but it didn't work as our product. Right now they're in a little bit crisis. They had some issues with their device. Our device is non-traumatic. Nothing in the device penetrates the tissue of the patient. GI Dynamics had another idea. They did it in the 2001, 2, 3. They're old technology, let's call it, and they used barbs that penetrated the body to anchor the sleeve. Those barbs create some issues, and they tried, and they used to have CE certificate to sell their products, but CE took their license to sell. So they were the only ones that had a similar device to our device. There are other technologies, like in the United States, there is Revita, which what they're doing is like they burn the tissue of the duodenal. They're doing ablation. All right, so they are looking in the same area as us because they also understand that this area needs to be treated in order to cure the diabetics. They went with the agenda of it's not permanent, it's for only half a year. The tissue regenerates itself. So it's also a temporary solution. However, they cannot repeat their solution more than 1 or 2 times because then the body starts to react against this ablation, which is it's not an easy process to the body to go through. They are still also in studies, and we are in studies. But they're a great company. I hope they'll do well. I hope I will do well. The market is very big, and as much as players that are going to be over there, it's a great opportunity to give a lot of people a better life chance at what will be with their life.
Tell me a little bit about Allevetix. Who owns Allevetix? How is it in the capital structure? Can people invest in Allevetix? Tell me a little bit about the business itself.
Allevetix is a private company, so you cannot just go into the stock market and buy a few shares. My major investor is a public company from Israel named Allevetix Medical. We also have some private investors and some small family funds that also invested in the company in the beginning. Up to today, I think we have around $4.5 million invested in the company. 1 million out of this was from the government as a grant for the company. It's not a diluted grant. So this is the situation we are standing now. We're actually going to raise, the second raise is going to be in the couple 2 months. But we are always open to suggestions and partners to go with us.
Thank you very much, Ziv. For those more interested in learning about his company, please contact Allevetix directly. We'll put a link in the show notes.
Type 2 diabetes mellitus is a chronic and progressive metabolic disease. As of 2015, more than 400 million people suffered from type 2 diabetes worldwide. In 2014, the estimated medical care costs for diabetes in the U.S. alone stood at $147 billion. The gastric bypass bariatric surgery is currently the gold standard treatment for diabetes type 2 for obese patients. However, this procedure is irreversible and related with significant risks, morbid complications, and a long recovery time. Allevetix Medical Limited is an R&D company that is focused on innovative solutions to treat obesity and type 2 diabetes. The NobiX system is a novel implant that creates the clinical effect of the bypass bariatric surgery in a minimally invasive, non-traumatic, and reversible way that enables a much faster recovery time. Using a standard gastroscope, the physician inserts the guide wire into the duodenum. The delivery system is advanced over the guide wire through the mouth, esophagus, and stomach. Once reaching the pylorus, the sleeve is deployed and the nitinol anchoring structure expands. This structure anchors the sleeve to its place in the duodenum. The physician locks the intragastric anchor with an easy and quick innovative mechanism. Then, the delivery system and the gastroscope are retrieved, thus ending the implantation procedure. The digested food passes through the sleeve with the natural peristaltic movements, while the gastric anchor prevents migration downwards. Following 1 year of indwelling time, the system is retrieved out of the body. The system retrieval is performed with a standard grasper or snare. The grasper is inserted through the gastroscope working channel. The physician crimps the nitinol structure of the sleeve with the grasper and withdraws the sleeve into the stomach. The physician now uses the grasper to collapse the intragastric anchor. The implant is easily retrieved by pulling the implant through the esophagus out of the patient's body. With an indwelling time of 12 months, the NobiX implant offers a novel, non-traumatic, reversible solution for treating type 2 diabetes. NobiX System, the future of diabetes care.
For those looking to make a broadly diversified Israeli equity investment, contact the Jerusalem portfolio, where in just a few minutes, anyone, virtually anyone, can open up an account and fund it so that they too can have a stake in Israel. Thank you very much.